Good afternoon, everyone. So thanks a lot for joining us this afternoon for the Machine Intelligence Garage themed cohort webinar. So my name is Hugo Defoe, and I am an Innovation Delivery Manager here at Digital Catapult as part of our innovation practice team. And today I am also joined with my colleague Nathan from Digital Catapult as well. Nathan, would you like to give yourself a quick introduction?
Thanks, Hugo. Hi, everyone. My name is Nathan Coulson. I'm a technologist on the AI and machine learning team at the Digital Catapult, working with Hugo and other colleagues to deliver the Machine Intelligence Garage program.
Thank you, Nathan. Wonderful. So just going to give you a bit of an overview of the agenda for this afternoon. So we're going to start by firstly give you a quick introduction of the Machine Intelligence Garage program. We're then going to dig in a bit more into the themed cohort. So as a reminder, the themed cohort is in AI in visual arts and media. We are then going to present to you with the selection criteria, so both for the Machine Intelligence Garage and for the themed cohort. And we're also going to talk to you about the support offered to the startups as part of this themed cohort. And lastly, we are going to close this session today with a Q&A. So a bit of a house rules just before we start. So this is a Zoom webinar, so which is a bit different than your normal Zoom meeting. So which means that both your camera and your microphone are disabled. However, as you can see on your bottom bar, you have a chat box as well as a Q&A box. So please feel free to pop in the Q&A box any questions that you may have alongside the session, and we will make sure to answer to them the best that we can with Nathan at the end of the session. But without any further ado, let's dig into the Machine Intelligence Garage program overview. So the Machine Intelligence Garage is a multi-year acceleration program. So it is run by Digital Catapult. It has been launched in January 2018. So it will be soon be 3 years that the program already exists. And the program is part funded by KPI, so which is Capital Enterprise, through the ERDF, which is the European Regional Development Fund. And so just to talk a bit about the why behind the program, and so like why it has been launched by Digital Catapult. So basically, Digital Catapult launched a survey that realized that 60% of the startups within the AI and machine learning ecosystem in the UK agreed with the fact that the access to computational power is a main barrier to machine learning development. So this is what we are here for. So both as Digital Catapult as the Machine Intelligence Garage program. So what do we do? So our main program objectives is to accelerate the growth of machine learning and AI startups. And we are here to help startups to develop new products or services, to increase their revenue, to grow their team, as well as to receive investment. And in order to do so, we have pretty amazing partners and collaborators, as you can see on these slides over here. So the first kind of like partners that we have are AWS and GCP, which are our cloud compute providers. We do also work with Graphcore, Hartree Center, EPCC, NVIDIA, as well as Spinnaker, and they are compute providers. And lastly, and as mentioned, we work with the European Union, so through the ERDF, and with KPI, so Capital Enterprise. So who are we to help? So who are we here to help with? So first of all, these startups need to have an AI-enabled product or services idea. They need to have a strong tech team in order to deliver this idea. Need to have an immediate need for computational power. They need to be data ready. And lastly, they need to use AI in an ethical and responsible manner. So all the startups will join the program for a year with a first initial phase of 2 to 3 months of a more active period where they will receive most of the support from the program. And the startups will also have a chance to renew their contract for another year when it expires, and to stay within the MI Garage program. So let's jump into what does all this mean in practice. So the program originally started as a pure tech program. So the startups were offered with the cloud compute vouchers. However, nowadays, the program has very much evolved into this three different types of support. So we have, of course, kept the technical support, but we have also added through the time some ethics support, as well as business and investment support. And I'm going to jump in a little bit more into every one of them right now. So in terms of the technical support, so the main thing that the startups are receiving is the access to high quality compute power. So for example, there was the hosted hardware with NVIDIA, so which is the NVIDIA DGX1 on site. The startups also have access to cloud compute vouchers, so through AWS and GCP. They also have access to existing UK HPC infrastructures, as well as demo and experimentation space with new machine learning chips. In addition to this, the startups have the chance to attend to office hours and deep dives with partners, as well as with our AI tech team here at Digital Catapult. Have the chance to receive some technical workshops as well as meetups. And lastly, have the chance to attend some data study groups with the Alan Turing Institute. So moving on to the ethics support. So the ethics support originally started with our ethics committee, so which is composed of high esteemed individual, and they have put together an ethics framework, which is basically offers guidelines for the startups to like shape their business in a more ethical and responsible manner. And when I talk about business, this is not just like the tech side. This is like really much the whole business. So like this ethics framework really much like expands to like technical business, as well as more of the human side as well on the business. And the first type of support that we offer is the ethics consultations. So the startup that will be onboarded onto the program will attend to a 1-hour call with our ethics committee members, where they will basically like discuss any ethical considerations that they may have. We then also do some office hours, which is basically an extended consultations, but so still with the ethics committee members, with this time with more startups present during the within the room. And lastly, we have our ethics deep dive, which are a year process during which the startups, alongside with the ethics committee members, will have the chance to build the whole roadmap for their businesses. So which is going to be basically like planning ahead, like for like all the ethics considerations that they have right now and that they may have into the future. And moving on to the last type of support that we do, so which is the business and investments. So the first thing that we do is offering business workshops for the startups that join us. So which can be like workshops around like various topics on business. So that can be, for example, pricing, as well as sales, marketing and PR, like business model, etc. So this can be like around various different offerings. In terms of investments, so we have our yearly investor showcase as well as workshops. So for the investor showcase, so once per year, we select between 10 and 12 companies that we put in the front of investors. And leading up to this, we do prepare the startups through a series of kind of like workshops and roundtables where we invite investors to like give talks around like various topics in order to make the startups investment ready for this investor showcase. And we do also have throughout the year some investor workshops as well as roundtables. And beyond the business and investment support, we do also have some connections with corporate. So Digital Catapult very much sits in the heart of the UK tech ecosystems. So we do have like connections with like pretty large companies, which sometimes comes to us with a certain challenges and seek the help of the startups. And we do, when we can, put in touch those startups with those corporates in order to reply to those challenges. And then we do also allow the startups to be more visible and credible, to all of their stakeholders. And lastly, we have some networking and connection across the AI and machine learning ecosystem. So that is it for the presentation of the MI Garage program. And now I would like to give it over to Nathan, who is going to introduce us to the filmed cohort and to explain to us the whys behind it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hugo, for that great introduction. Hello again. As before, I'm Nathan Coulson, a technologist on the AI machine learning program, and we're going to talk through why we picked this particular theme and how it relates to the focus areas of the Catapult and what opportunities we see there. So first of all, just to set the context, the Digital Catapult has two sector focus areas. One is manufacturing, and the other one is the creative industries more generally. And also, in terms of other tech areas that we focus on, as well as AI and machine learning, we also focus on, for example, immersive technologies, which includes VR, AR, and haptics. And because of this, we've run a number of different programs that connect to the creative industries. Two of the most prominent are on the immersive side, so Creative XR and Augmenta help businesses in the immersive space to create new content and to connect with mentors. And we also run events, for example, with organizations like the DPP, who connect some AI startups to media and broadcast companies who want to adopt mature AI solutions. So we've done a lot of work in the creative sector across different technology areas, including as well recently 5G with the technology kind of testbed accelerator. And in this context, this is why we've chosen to focus on this area for the Machine Intelligence Garage, because our focus will be to build and scale the AI sector capability and capacity to support the application of AI to creative content innovation, production, and enrichment. And we'll go into exactly what that means and what that covers. So as I mentioned before, the creative sector is one of our strategic focus areas, and we have that world-leading immersive technology program, as well as 5G program and blockchain program, which connects many different dots with the AI program to help solve issues in the or potential kind of business problems in the creative sector. And specifically when we're looking at AI, the UK has a dual competitive advantage in AI research relevant to visual arts and media, for example, in areas of computer vision and generative adversarial networks, and of course the strength of its creative sector more generally. And to link this to the areas of our AI technology strategy, we've picked computer vision and GANs as a couple of our strategic focus areas within the tech team. And looking at our previous MI Garage companies, computer vision is a very prominent technique within those companies. So over a third of our total cohort in the past have used computer vision as a primary AI technique. And as Hugo mentioned, one of the key missions of Machine Intelligence Garage is to unblock the compute barriers for AI startups. And we know that all other things being equal, computer vision and GAN applications can be relatively much more compute intensive. So why is this a good time to focus on the creative industries and the areas of visual arts and media more generally? So for some of the reasons that I've outlined already, we see that there's a gap between a growing innovator ecosystem and a lot of advances in AI research, and then the actual maturity of AI adoption in the creative industries. And this is for a number of reasons, and we've engaged with larger companies in the creative sector on these issues. But one way we're going to approach this is to help creative startups to get their solutions more market ready and to contribute to their product development through, for example, compute power. And on a more topical note, we know that the impact of COVID-19 on the creative sector is quite significant, and along with other technology areas, including, for example, 5G, we're keen to help with any innovative developments to drive efficiency in the creative sector and to adapt to new market conditions and to bring new products to market. So let's dig down into the selection criteria in terms of what we're looking for startups applying to Machine Intelligence Garage. And these program selection criteria apply to, first of all, any machine intelligence garage cohort. We'll go into the more themed criteria later on. but this applies to any open call for the Machine Intelligence Garage. So you should have a well-defined business plan. And of course, we understand that for early stage startups, this can change and adapt over time. You should have a clear idea of where you're heading, and we want to see that ambition. You should be a relatively early stage startup. So broadly speaking, most successful applicants on the Machine Intelligence Garage are pre-Series A, for example. And as was mentioned before, we want to see that you have thought about how your AI solution will be used ethically and responsibly. And we can help you to explore these issues. They don't need to be fully kind of formed ideas. We want to see you engage with those issues. And you should have a strong tech team and a plan and a product roadmap to build your solution. But the actual solution itself can still be, for example, at an MVP stage. We want to see that you have kind of begun to build that solution, which links to the next two criteria, being data ready and having an immediate need for compute power. So we would want to see, for example, that you already have or are starting to collect relevant data sets, and they are at a certain volume, which connected to the techniques you're using would necessitate an immediate need for compute power. Because we provide, for example, with the cloud credits, a significant amount of compute, we want to see that that will be used well during the program. So let's now look at the themed areas. And what I want to emphasize here is that we are being quite specific within the creative industry, so visual arts and media, but within that we want to be quite flexible. So these examples of application areas are not exhaustive. So if you have any questions, like now is definitely the time to ask about it to see if you're relevant for the cohort, but we're definitely flexible on this. So some example of application areas include startups working in the areas of, say, film, online streaming and television, immersive technologies, so VR, AR and mixed reality, video content for corporate or general education, content curation, enrichment and archive mining, visual concept or performance art using AI at scale. And just to explain the at scale bit, this would involve something that is able to be consumed, for example, on the internet, rather than something that is kind of constrained to a physical performance necessarily. So we want to see that kind of applied at scale. And then content generation in games, movies, engineering and design. And the kind of how the kind of techniques and technology relate to these application areas is what we'll go into next. But as you can see, it's quite a broad range, and this is not an exhaustive list. So in terms of technology, what are we looking for? So startups applying AI, for example, computer vision, but not exclusively, to audiovisual content in general. So examples of relevant technologies would be virtual production using computer vision and GANs, tagging and classification of visual content, audio analysis, classification, speech transcription. And this is an important thing to highlight here. So we're not necessarily saying that your AI startup needs to target specifically, it has to use computer vision, or has to use visual data. It can focus on the audio side, but it does need to link back to audio visual content in general. So for example, audio analysis or some sort of an audio production tool for creating video content would be relevant. And then again, to look at some non-visual data examples, so natural language processing models applied to the metadata of visual content. So allowing organizations to better search and understand their archives, or how their users interact with their content, and using NLP methods to do that. That would qualify as this, as it still links back to audiovisual content. And then finally, the use of GANs to create new visual content or modify existing content. And that definitely with an eye on various kind of ethical issues as well. So with that, I'll hand it over to my colleague Hugo, he will take you through the creative cohort tailored support.
I am muted, sorry. Thank you very much, Nathan. So as you just explained, so this cohort is a bit different than our usual cohort. And so for that, we have decided to put together some like more tailored support. And so this tailored support is going to be focusing on computer vision as well as the creative industry and visual arts and medias. So in addition to the kind of like more traditional and normal support that the startup will receive, they will, in addition, so in terms of business and investment, they will receive some workshops for finding and retaining talents, as well as business models. So we will then do an investment workshop, which is going to be basically it's like finding some investors who are highly investing within the creative industry and within the computer vision technologies, and put together a great event for the startups to meet those investors. We will then have a demo day as well as some industry networking events. In terms of technical, we will have a computer vision workshop where we will basically present to you the Digital Catapult views on computer vision. We will also have some partner-based activities. And lastly, in terms of ethics, we will have a webinar, which is going to be led by our ethics committee members. And they will basically discuss any ethical considerations that are important to have and to raise when working within the creative industry and when using computer vision. And moving on to our last slide for today. So we wanted to present to you the timeline for this creative cohort. So as of today, we are around here, just right before the open call close. So the open call closes on the 9th of November. So please make sure to apply as soon as possible. And indeed, we are highly advising you to apply when you can, because we are reviewing the applications as we go. After this, so when the open call close, we will have an internal shortlisting meeting during which we will select startups to invite for interviews. And those interviews are going to start on the 23rd of November, and we will take up to 2 weeks. When those interviews are going to be finished, we will have a final internal meeting where we'll discuss which startups to onboard within the MI Garage program. And after this, so we will have selected, we'll announce the startups, and from mid-December all the way up until mid-January, we will onboard those startups, so doing something that we call the onboarding process, and during which we will go over all the legal documentation to onboard the startups as part of the program. And lastly, from February to March 2021, so we will offer to the selected startups our active engagement. So this will be a 10 weeks initial active engagement during which the startups will receive the normal support as well as the tailored support offered by the MI Garage program. And as mentioned before, all the startups are onboarded for a year. So this is so this engagement, so this active period is very much like the most intensive for the startups, where they will receive most of the engagement. And I believe this is it for today. So we should join into the Q&A session. I'm going to stop sharing my slides for a bit. And I can see that there was a few Q&A already there. If you guys would like to pop your question in there, please do not hesitate. And you can also upvote the questions that you would like to see the most answered. So I can see a question over there from an anonymous attendee. What should I do if I want to join the program, but my company doesn't meet criteria for the creative cohort? So we do 3 to 4 cohorts per year. So basically, our next cohort is going to be launched in February 2021. So you will be able at that time to submit your applications, and then we'll take you into consideration to meet this cohort. Do you want to add anything to that, Nathan? I think it's pretty.
No, that's absolutely absolutely fine. Also, if you want to get in touch and find out more about the program, but you're not going to apply to this creative cohort, then yeah, we can of course answer any questions you have in preparation for applying to the next cohort.
Of course. And I can see another question there. So is the program going to be delivered fully online? And does it take equity like over accelerators? So the program is, as of now, so as we are speaking, the program is delivered fully online. So until further notice. And we believe that like delivering it online as of now is also a great way to also engage with other startups which are all across the UK. So yeah, for now, it is going to be delivered fully online. And so to the second part of the question, does it take equity like over accelerator? No, we do not take equity at all. And the main reason is because we are part of the government. And so like basically all of our offering is free of charge. I can see one from Jeff. Nathan, maybe would like to answer this one. How many places on the program? How many EOIs so far?
So we don't have necessarily a fixed number that we recruit every cohort, but typically it is between say 8 and 14, like that kind of number. And it depends, of course, on the applications that we receive. And for example, it can be a common occurrence that someone applies to the program and they have a great idea, but they might be a bit too early. We might then advise that they apply to the next one, or we give them some feedback as to at what stage it might be more appropriate. For example, using the compute credits at the right time so it's not wasted. So I would say definitely if you're interested in the program, apply. And even if you're not successful the first time, we will give you feedback, of course, and we'll do that at the stage of receiving the application, but also at the interview stage as well.
Exactly. Sounds great. There's another question here as well. What can MI Garage do to connect startups with the creative industry? Nathan, you'd like to take this one?
Sure, absolutely. So as I mentioned before, we, as the Catapult, are kind of like the creative industry is one of our kind of key sector focus areas. And we have people at the Catapult who are dedicated to connecting to the creative industry, to running research and development projects with the creative industry. And also specifically for this program, we will be engaging with key kind of associations and organizations who have who represent, for example, big media and broadcasting companies. Will be able to bring representatives from the creative industries to our industry networking events. So we will be very active in connecting startups to potential customers or potential members of that industry who can give them feedback on their ideas.
Exactly. Thank you, Nathan. It's another one for you there. For startups which do not use computer vision, is this cohort still relevant?
Yes. So on this point, as I kind of mentioned in the presentation, computer vision is we expect to see quite a few applications that use computer vision simply because we're focusing on the visual arts and media. However, your startup may well be relevant even if it doesn't use computer vision. If your solution targets, for example, the application of AI to audio visual content in general. So as I mentioned before, examples of this can include audio sound analysis, also kind of natural language processing on top of audio visual content. So for example, organizing knowledge maps within like a broadcaster or within an archive. These can all be relevant applications to visual arts and media. And if you're unsure about that, you can absolutely kind of reach out to us via email, and we'd be happy to give you a more specific answer to your use case.
Great. And another one for you, Nathan, about tech and more in particular about compute power. How much compute power can you offer to the startups?
Sure. So so we have a variety of offerings. The main offering is around cloud compute credits, and that can range between $125,000 to $200,000, depending on which plan you want to access. So it's something that's probably best talked about within the program, but that's the range, and it depends on your roadmap and when you want to use those compute credits. So, for example, you can extend it to potentially over a year, and take less credits, say 125K over 2 cloud providers, or you could choose to get more, but over a short period of time. So it's that kind of range, in the range of $100,000 upwards. And then on top of that, we have a variety of other partnerships and our own on-site infrastructure, the DJX ones, as Hugo mentioned. So so typically for early stage startups, it's a significant amount of compute power for a lot of needs.
Cool. Thank you, Nathan. I can see another question here. I tried to apply on the website and submitted registration of interest through the form. What do I need to do next, and when should I apply? So when you have registered your interest on our website, you should have received an automated email, which will basically like send you to complete the application. And so from when should you apply? As I just mentioned, please try to apply as soon as possible, as we are reviewing all the applications as we go. And if you have any troubles to finding this email or to finding how to apply, I will share our email addresses at the end of this presentation. And so please feel free to contact us over there, and we will best answer that. So next question, is the program delivered in English only, or other language available? So this program is delivered only in English. I mean, there was a lot of people talking a lot of different languages, Digital Catapult. However, like the whole program is delivered in English indeed. Nathan, there is a question for you there. Is there a minimum amount of data required to be accepted onto the program?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the short answer is it depends. And essentially, what I mean by that is, do you have enough data to have a viable minimum viable product? So if you have, if you're looking at a computer vision application, in order to train it to a point where it's approaching something that is useful for your customer, do you have enough data in order to achieve that business goal? Obviously, that would be much less data in terms of actual volume if that you're dealing with text data. So it really depends. Essentially, what we want to see is that you have enough relevant data to get your product to a certain stage. And this is linked to the compute, because we provide the compute credits. If you don't have enough data relevant for your use case, then you won't be making the most out of those compute resources. So that's the main guideline. We want to see you have enough data to build, the first versions of your product.
Exactly. Thank you, Nathan. So moving on to the next question. So how individual is the support you offer, and how do we engage with other participants? So so while you're coming on the program as a sole startups, we always try to engage you and make like the kind of like connections and networking with other participants possible as much as possible. So I mean, we all know that this is quite hard with the COVID time. However, like something that we did for our previous onboarding was do a networking sessions. Sort of at the end of the onboarding session, so like with all the startups together, kind of like mixed. So yeah, so like, I mean, the program can be individual if you'd like to be. However, like I think what makes like the program and Digital Catapult as a whole as good as it is connection to other people. And this is also like how much like you're willing to put into this. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say the program is like individual. You have like, always like connections to other people. So I can see another question there. What if I am Scottish and Scotland leaves UK by the time the startup is selected? I don't know.
I can take that one.
You can take that one.
Sure.
Wonderful.
So just as Hugo outlined in his slides, we were talking about the timelines, because we'll be selecting the startups before Christmas. Then as far as I'm aware, there's no chance of this happening because we're doing it in the next few months.
Cool. Thank you, Nathan. So it's another question here. How long is the participation in the program and what happens during the application slash selection? So the participation into the program is a year. So from like the date where you guys are onboarded, and with a kind of like initial period of 2 to 3 months being the most active period. However, so like there is so there will be like the active period of 2 to 3 months, and then like for the remaining of this year, you will still receive some support and being able to attend some of the workshops and webinar. So this is not just the initial period. You're really like on the MI Garage and can benefit from all of the activities for the whole year. So does my company have to be registered in the UK to join, and can it be outside of London? So yes, your company does have to be registered in the UK to join the MI Garage program, because, and the main reason to that is that Digital Catapult is here to support the UK ecosystem. And can it be based outside of London? Yes, entirely. So as long as you guys are in the UK, so we do have like startups like pretty much like all around the UK. So this is no problem at all. So how is the program participation different during COVID situation versus usual? So like the main kind of like differentiator is that everything is delivered remotely. So I mean, like we still carry on doing like the same activities. I mean, there is of course some adaptation. So currently we are working on our investor showcase, which is our yearly event where we put like selected startups in the front of investors. So last year, everything was like pitching in the front of investors. However, like this year, it's going to be more of like one-to-one with like a lot of different investors. So what we're doing is like we are still trying to do business as usual as much as we can, but like with like an adaptation to like this new remote world. There's a question there maybe for you, Nathan. What other activities or projects at Digital Catapult can MI Garage startups take part in?
Yeah, it's a good question. So as I think Hugo mentioned or alluded to in the presentation, the Digital Catapult has a number of activities outside of accelerating startup ecosystems. So for example, we work with corporates and different organizations to address their specific challenges around AI and other technology areas. And very often there are open calls for SMEs to propose solutions to this. And this is one example of industry engagement. And there are other examples, for example, joining a collaborative research and development program or consortium. And because you are within the Digital Catapult orbit, you will be in a better position, and we will obviously be able to reach out to you to highlight these particular opportunities with corporates or with research projects.
Perfect. Thank you, Nathan. There is another question there. So does the data have to be proprietary, or can open source data sets be used to train model for use in novel products or ways?
Yeah, good question. So yes, it can be open source. It doesn't have to be proprietary. What we want to see essentially is the kind of the end solution and what value the product will do, and obviously what value we can bring to that SME or startup. And very often, as I'm sure you're all aware, when you're first getting started, it's going to be hard to kind of collect your own unique data sets. So very often we would see a lot of startups beginning with open source data sets, as long as they can show that it's sufficiently similar to the kind of data they will use from future clients, for example, then we would take this into account. So that's absolutely no problem.
Great, thank you, Nathan. So there is a question here from Sippy. So my startup is developing enabling technologies for video analytics, and we have already developed prototype as several areas that you have been addressing. Several of these applications you have addressed. Can we propose various applications areas or select only one?
So in this case, I would say that we accelerate organizations or companies rather than necessarily individual products. So it's absolutely fine to present to us various prototypes targeted at different problems. That's absolutely fine. We wouldn't say you join the program as a specific product. It's more like the company and whatever products you're trying to bring to market.
Cool. Thank you, Nathan. So I can see another question here. If we don't apply now, can we join the next cohort and still get support tailored to creative industries? Unfortunately, no, because so like this film cohort is so we have like one film cohort per year. So it is kind of like some like special tailored cohort that we offer just for this cohort, and then our next cohort throughout this year will be our more kind of like traditional and normal cohorts.
And just to, sorry, Gerd, just to add to that, I would say that with any particular startup, if they have particular needs or requests around connections to industries, that's always something we would take into account. So even if you miss the creative cohort themed support, that doesn't necessarily mean that we can't help with kind of on a case-by-case basis requests around connections to different industries or various different things. It's just you will miss out on the package of support for the creative industries.
Yep, exactly. So there's another question here, which maybe like Q&A, Nathan will be able to jump on that. But what type of support do startups usually find the most beneficial? And like, I mean, yeah, like I would say this like for myself, it's like a bit of a mix as well, because I mean, different startups, like, so like different startups are like at different stages. So for example, we have like startups that can be like very like earlier on, that can like benefit like the most from like the technical support. And then we can have like startups who are like a bit like further down the line and who can like benefit most from like the investment as well as the ethics support. But however, like I would say that like the most successful startups on the MI Garage program have been the startups who have been involved in like all of the types of support that we have done. So technical, business and investment, as well as ethics. So I wouldn't say there was like one that's more beneficial than the other. I would say that really depends from case by case. If you want to add something to that, Nathan.
No, that was perfect. I totally agree.
Perfect. There is one for you there, Nathan. Can we take advantage of multiple computation if we join?
Yes, yeah, basically is the answer. So we it's dependent on, so everyone will get access to cloud credits, but then access to different compute partners and access to on-site infrastructure is available to everyone, but will be organized on a case-by-case basis, for example, through presenting the different options and then seeing what is most suitable. But everyone gets cloud credits, and then everyone has access to the other options if appropriate.
Exactly. Thank you, Nathan. And to have two more questions there. So what happened after we submit the application? Can we apply again if we're not selected? So after you will submit your applications, we will then review all the applications. There will be Nathan, myself, and another colleague, and we'll then decide on which startups to interview. And then so after those interviews, we will then have another meeting and decide on which to do like 8 to 14 startups to go forward with. And if you're not selected, yes, of course, please do apply again. And so a bit of a tips is if you have applied and are not selected, when you see that there is a new open call that is live, please get in touch with us, and then we should be able to like review like a little bit your application and to have like more of a catch up with you guys. So Nathan, there is one for you there. If we have already gone through the cloud, through the GCP for startups program, do we get additional credits?
Yeah, so on this point, both AWS and GCP have a total cap on credits they give access to any one startup, even if they access it through different programs. So it would depend on how many credits you accessed. So for either GCP or AWS, if you have accessed the full amount, which is $100,000 for each of them, then you can't access any further. But if you've accessed 10,000 in the past, then you can still access the further 90,000 with us. But in any case, with any accelerator, if you have accessed those credits before through those programs, then you can't go over the cap of 100,000 for each of them.
Thank you, Nathan. So do you provide advice slash support on IP protection? This is something that we have done in the past. So we have worked for some of our business kind of like offering with two companies that are working within IP protection. And so I mean, like, this is something that we would be considering like offering to the startups if you like it. And of course, I mean, if let's say you're joining the program, what we'd like to do as well is to hear like what the startups would like to see as well. So I mean, like we do like write like most of the activities in advance. However, like if the startups have like any suggestion on things to do better, or like new kind of like type of support, this is something that we can work on and try to implement in the future. But to reply your answers, yes, this is something that we have or that we have done in the past and that we can do in the future if there is a desire coming out from the startups.
And Hugo, just to add to that, we have a good relationship with the ICO, the Information Commissioner's Office Innovation Hub, and we've done an event with them in the past. We've connected startups to them, so that's definitely again something that we can leverage in the future. Depending on the kind of requests from startups.
Exactly. Thank you, Nathan. So moving on to the next one, you mentioned that the next cohort might not be creative industries. Will it still have the same requirements for selection? So indeed, the next cohort is going to be our more traditional cohort, if I may say. And so our selection criteria are going to be those ones just right there. So yeah, so like those are our traditional selection criteria, and you can also find them on our website. So what if we don't need access to compute power? I'm sorry, to compute yet, but are interested in joining the program for over support. Nathan, would you like to take that one?
Well, I would advise you to get in touch with us, and we can discuss that specific case, because it might be the case that you are only a few months off, and we can discuss this. But the kind of need for that immediate barrier to developing models or the compute power, we need to see that at some point. So definitely, it's worth you getting in touch with us and having a conversation about what time is best for you to apply.
Exactly. Thank you, Nathan. And the last question that I can see over there, do you provide help and advice with recruiting tech talents? So this is not something that we do. I mean, like, this is something that, I mean, like, I will be like, for example, like, more than happy to share with my network and to see like, if there is like anyone that we know. However, like, if you're joining the creative cohort, for example, there will be an entire workshop about finding and retaining talents, so which will be like quite useful in your case. Great.
I think that was quite a few
it.
questions. That's good. Good to see.
Oh, there is another question there from Venu. So we will be launching our product in March of next year. That's when we will need compute power. Is this fine?
So without knowing anything else, that sounds like it might be fine, because that's in terms of when we start the active support, you're looking at January, February time. So it's not completely necessary that you need to use all the compute power in the first few weeks of starting the program. So if it's in March, like that sounds absolutely fine to me.
Awesome. What will happen at the end of the creative cohort? Well, I mean, so like the active periods on the machine intelligence garage program and on this creative cohort is from February to March, sorry. And after this, so like you will stay on the program so for the remaining of the year, so you will still be able to receive like all of the kind of like more traditional support that offers the DMI Garage program and Digital Catapult as a whole.
Yeah, and just add to that, in terms of the end of the active period for the creative cohort, we are, as you saw in the plans, we are going to look at doing a demo day for the creative startups, and that will be linked to the industry networking as well. So, but that is going to be, you're still going to be on the MI Garage cohort. It's just that, as Hugo mentioned, that will be the end of the active period, and you can still take advantage of workshops and resources throughout the next few months after that.
Exactly. Just gonna wait a couple of seconds. If there is any last burning questions that you guys would like to ask us? Cool. Let me just reshare my screen real quickly. Yep.
And Hugo, I guess also, I think your last slide might cover it, but my my question for us would be, what is the best way for startups to get in touch with us?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so like following this webinar, I can see there's another Q&A. There was another question there, but following this webinar, our event team will send you guys a message. So from Eventbrite, and within this Eventbrite message, you will receive our address email. So which is going to be the DMI Garage address email. But I can see there's a few more questions. Do we have time, Nathan? We do have time to take some.
Yeah, they're just, I think they're quite short questions, I think.
Time of deadline. So deadline is the Monday, the 9th of November. Will you be sharing the slides? Yes, we can. Very happy to share those slides with all of you guys. And are you able to share this presentation deck to us? Yes, indeed, same question. So yes, we will. But a bit of a final remark. What time of the day? 11:59 p.m. 12.
Good memory.
9th of November, 11:59 p.m. So you do have the time.
The whole day.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So thanks a lot, everybody, for attending and listening to this presentation about the MI Garage program and about our filmed cohort. As we said, we are very much looking forward to seeing your applications, and please do apply as soon as you can, as we are reviewing all those applications as we go. And if you have any trouble to either find the link to the application or to register your interest, please do get in touch with us. And as I just mentioned, we will put our email addresses into the Eventbrite follow-up. Nathan, do you have any final words?
Just to thank everyone for joining, and thank you, Hugo.